Hi dear students. So we all have completed a major portion of the theory in the course Soil Biology and Biochemistry, Soils 506. And now more than 90% is completed in the theory part. Now telling about the practical component. We have got more than 6 classes in the practicals. And the first one is on soil microbial population. But I think you already have a session on microbial population in the microbiology course, which the soil science students have already registered, and also Google. Only Teresa and Gina have not registered for this particular course on soil biology. So I am not going into the details of that. Next one is on soil microbial biomass. The theory aspect almost everyone is thorough because it was very well covered by one of the students. So just do not remember the name, and also the quantification of soil microbial biomass. So today another is on rhizosphere effect. I think I already have shared the video on rhizosphere effect. Another is on soil organic matter, the fractions of organic matter, and then on soil enzymes. These enzymes and all we will be covering in detail on especially the most important enzymes: dehydrogenase, urease, cellulase, and of course the phosphatase. Because the soils of Kerala being acidic, acid phosphatase is very important in the case of Kerala soil. So we will be touching upon the estimation of soil acid phosphatase as well. So today I am focusing more on the microbial biomass. You already know the definition on microbial biomass, but I will just, for refreshing your memory, I will just say or talk with you on what microbial biomass is. So its definition says the microbial biomass is a measure of the mass of living component of soil organic matter. So in terms of volume is very less than 5%, but the effect is very large. So when we tell about microbial biomass, it includes the bacteria, fungi and protozoa. Nearly 1 to 5% of the total soil organic matter pool is composed by the microbial biomass. But it is a highly dynamic, protein-rich carbon pool, and it represents a major nutrient sink, and as such, many organisms are capable of degrading most of these products, and microbially synthesized materials, many of the organisms are capable of degrading. So several methods are there for monitoring the carbon dioxide, which is evolved by the microbial activity. There can be the direct methods as well as the indirect methods. So direct methods are already available. It is called as the colony counting technique is there, but it has got its own limitations or demerits. One is it is very time consuming. You require too much of time for counting each colony, be it of bacteria, fungi, protozoa. Next one, the data is very difficult to interpret because of the wide variation. Variation will be very large, and also another thing is it will not be uniform. So data will be erratic. Sometimes you may get a good value, sometimes you may not be stable. That's why it's called as an erratic estimation. Another is distinction between the live and dead organism is often very difficult. You cannot just make out whether the organism is dead or the organism is living. And another is uncertainty whether all organisms present have been counted. You will finish off the exercise, but towards the end you will feel doubtful whether all organisms have been correctly counted. So these are all some of the limitations for direct counting method. To overcome all these limitations, we move on to we have another very effective method that is called as the chloroform fumigation and extraction method. So that is the most widely accepted method for microbial biomass estimation, and it is by monitoring the carbon dioxide which is evolved. Originally it was postulated by Anderson and Domsch in the year 1978, and later by Jenkinson and Paulson in 1986. Paulson and Jenkinson 1986. It is called as the chloroform fumigation and extraction method. So what is chloroform? You all know what chloroform is. It's an organic compound. It is colorless, it is sweet smelling, and maybe often in the olden days it was mainly used for giving the anesthesia. So it is highly anesthetic. So chloroform, what we get in the market or what we procure from outside. Another feature of chloroform is it is an organic solvent. Dissolves too many substances. It is capable of dissolving ever so many substances. That is another peculiarity of chloroform. So what chloroform, that is a chemical, it's also called as a trichloromethane or CHCl3. You may be knowing about the chloroform CHCl3. So earlier it was mainly used for giving the anesthesia, And because of its ever so many advantages to serve as a solvent, it is also used for soil fumigation technique, that's for killing the microorganisms. So when we add chloroform, so the principle and the methodology will be dealt with in detail. So what chloroform, with the chloroform that we get from the market or from the dealers, whatever it is, that chloroform will contain some quantity of ethanol, that is C2H5OH, ethyl alcohol. So what for this alcohol is added to chloroform? That is another interesting thing. That is because the chlorine contained in the chloroform will react with the carbon dioxide of the atmosphere to form a highly poisonous gas, PH3 or phosphine. To overcome that or to avoid such an interaction and the production of poisonous gas, chloroform is always added with ethanol. So when we use it for fumigation program or fumigation method or for fumigating the soil, we have to necessarily remove the particular alcohol. So for that we will use a separating funnel. So it is treated with sulfuric acid. We will use the equipment or the apparatus used as a separating funnel. Based on the density, the different layers will get separated. So from the chloroform, first of all we will remove the ethanol, and after treating with sulfuric acid, then we have to remove the excess sulfuric acid. For that we treat it with distilled water, and then finally you will get the pure chloroform. That chloroform is made use of for fumigation. So the procedure of chloroform fumigation extraction will be dealt with in detail by Sophia Devi. She is the course associate and she is your teacher and she is a student of mine. And now that's all about the, but don't think that you will not get a practical session physically in the lab. Maybe as time goes on, there may be orders, the division of orders will happen, and you may be getting back to the campus, and then you will get to know more about the, we will definitely be handling all these important topics in soil biology and biochemistry. But for the time being, we should not lose the time. So to compensate the, if most effectively the time at our disposal, I'm just giving you an introduction. Okay, so go through or just visualize what is the procedure and what is the principle involved behind the chloroform fumigation extraction method of soil microbial biomass extraction. Okay.
Good morning everyone. In this video, we are going to see the estimation of soil microbial biomass carbon using chloroform fumigation and extraction method. For that, we need moist soil sample, separating funnel, chloroform, sulfuric acid, distilled water, glass beads, potassium sulfate, potassium dichromate, orthophosphoric acid, ferrous ammonium sulfate, and ferroin indicator. In order to complete the experiment, we need hot plate as well as vacuum desiccator. The moist soil should be taken in 5 beakers, glass beakers, from which 2 will be used for fumigation, 2 are used for it is kept as non-fumigated, and 1 is used for estimating the moisture gravimetrically. In order to get the chloroform which we use should be free from ethanol. In order to make the chloroform free from ethanol, we have to distill it using sulfuric acid. For that, we need a separating funnel, and in the separating funnel, we have to take chloroform of about 20 ml, and to this we have to add sulfuric acid, which should be the double. Mix this thoroughly so that Now we get a mixture of sulfuric acid and chloroform. Keep it undisturbed for certain time so that it will form two different layers. The sulfuric acid will be collected in the lower layer and the chloroform will be collected in the upper layer. We can see that two layers are formed here. The sulfuric acid layer, which is seen in the bottom part, and the upper part is chloroform layer. So we have to discard the lower part, which is the sulfuric acid. And repeat the same process again. Add sulfuric acid again and do this. Swirl the separating funnel. Now again remove the bottom part, the sulfuric acid layer. Now we get chloroform that is free from ethanol, but we have to wash it using distilled water so that the contents of the sulfuric acid is removed from this. So again, similar to what we have done with sulfuric acid, add water to the separating funnel. And again repeat the same process. Here we can see two layers. The bottom layer is somewhat milky, cloudy in color, and the upper layer is a transparent layer. The cloudy layer is actually the chloroform, which is free from ethanol, and the upper layer is the water which is used. So we need the bottom layer. So release the pressure and then transfer the lower layer to a beaker. And the upper layer, that is water, and we can discard it. Wash this chloroform 2 times. Two times with distilled water, so that totally we are washing this chloroform 2 times with sulfuric acid in order to remove the ethanol content, and 2 times with water to remove the impurities, that is the sulfuric acid present in that. And then we can transfer it either, we can keep it either in a beaker or we can transfer it to a crucible, and we have to add glass beads to it so as to avoid bumping of the solution while we are boiling it and while we are keeping it in the vacuum pump. This is vacuum desiccator, and this instrument is used for fumigating the soil samples using chloroform. This, we can see that we have a desiccator connected with a motor here. The soils, the chloroform, the distilled chloroform is kept inside this, and this desiccator should be completely lined with a moistened filter paper. So and above this we have to keep the soil which is used for fumigation and see that the holes are not blocked while we keep samples, because through these holes the fumes of chloroform come out. So we have to line the entire desiccator using moistened filter paper. We can close it and switch on the motor for 5 minutes. So for 5 minutes the vacuum pump will operate and the chloroform will start boiling. After 5 minutes we can switch off the vacuum pump, and we have to keep the setup under stuff for 24 hours so that the fumes which come out from the chloroform will kill all the microbes present in the soil which is kept for fumigation, and that fumigated soil is then used for the remaining extraction and estimation purposes. We have taken the fumigated soil samples from the vacuum desiccator and the two from the refrigerator, and it is thawed. So now we have to transfer the entire soil samples to each 250 ml conical flask, and we have to add 25 ml of 0.5 molar potassium sulfate. We have transferred the soil to 4 250 ml conical flask and two fumigated ones and two non-fumigated samples, and we have added 25 ml of 0.5 molar potassium sulfate, and now we have to place it in a rotary shaker and shake it for half an hour, 30 minutes. After half an hour of shaking, the soil solution can be removed from the rotary shaker and it can be kept for filtration. And we can filter it using Wartman number 42 filter paper. After filtration, take 10 ml of the filtrate to a 500 ml dry conical flask, and to this first add 2 ml of potassium chromate, then add 10 ml of sulfuric acid, and 5 ml of orthophosphoric acid. After adding potassium potassium dichromate 2 ml, then 10 ml of sulfuric acid and 5 ml of orthophosphoric acid. Swirl the conical flask. We should use 500 ml conical flask and use a funnel to cover the conical flask. And similarly, we have to do for every samples, two fumigated samples and 2 non-fumigated samples. And along with that, we have to keep 2 blanks and with distilled water and other reagents. And then we have to keep the solutions in the hot plate, and we have to keep it in the refluxing condition for half an hour. After keeping the extract in hot plate for 30 minutes in refluxing condition, the solution turns slight greenish in color, and immediately after taking from the hot plate, we have to add 250 ml of distilled water into it. To this, add few drops of Ferron indicator and titrate against 0.005 normal FAS. And the endpoint we get is brick red color. This is the endpoint, a light brick red color. And alternately, we can go for using diphenylamine indicator instead of Ferron indicator. Similarly, perform the titration of the other set of fumigated sample, the non-fumigated samples as well as the blank sample, and then we can go for the calculation for finding the microbial biomass carbon. Thank you.